So I was thinking today about, I was thinking about two things while I was in the shower. One is power, one is deception. And I think, I think I might make them into two separate videos. Um, or maybe I will just integrate them because they do go together. Um, because of the nature of how power is abused, and usually it's through deception. So I guess I will just talk about them together, side by side. Um, so power is not the problem. The problem is abuse of power, right? All abuses are usually from a position of power and powerlessness. Our government abuses us by abusing its power over the people. Uh, Relationships are abusive because one is trying to exploit the other and abuse their power over the other person. Um, Forced codependency happens this way, or people are damaged already and have codependency issues, and then someone who wants to abuse their power picks up a person, and then they're kind of just permanently in a position of powerlessness compared to the person with power or their perceived powers. Like in a relationship, and I'm in the middle of a messy one right now, but what we see commonly, but not just me, but it's the narrative of why this feminist movement is picked up so strongly, because we recognize that over the decades that men abused their power over women severely, just because of the fact that women couldn't work for themselves, had needed help raising children, and our communities were starting to break off into little pieces. So we need to rely on more pillars in our families to help hold together as long as possible. And there are some out there who excelled at being the pillar of their families and actually, created a nice situation for themselves. But a lot of times it didn't come without abuse, abuse of women and children at the hands of a man who wants to hold on to power or is just abusing his power. And in a single parent situation, it's even more dangerous for the children, because not only does one parent have to be the nurturer and the breadwinner and everything else that two parents need to be to make a household function, it is the frustration of that can turn into abuse of power, or sometimes the power goes to your head of you're the only one taking care of this child, so you have all this perceived power over a little person's life. And we see how that plays out negatively all the time. Or if it is a single parent situation, and then the single parent, usually a single mom or whatever, but not like it doesn't happen the other way around, but a step parent can come in and exploit the power structure as well, where it can be like my situation. I was a single mother, but I decided on getting married because I felt like I could regain some of my own power or share some power, but it just turned into an abusive power situation where now all the things are being held over, our heads of all this power, and kind of thing. And it makes it into it's very toxic for someone to be holding their perceived power over you, despite the fact that in a working relationship, you're both sharing power and you're supposed to be using your power together for a family, not for our own selfish gains. that's the point of being a breadwinner in a family, is to share your work and labor, which is translates into power, with the family, so that the family has the power to has power has power to do things that the family needs to do. You know, people don't know how to like share power with each other, instead of being, you know, this whole culture is around being greedy with power and being lustful. You know, just all of it is for chasing power. Power, you know, it's the same thing as money. Money is the power. Status is power. You know, all these things that are perceived in the hierarchy of status or dominance, whatever. Some kind of dominance over others is power. You know, that's why a two-parent dynamic can fail if one person doesn't want to share the power, or they want to be the total authority, and that just doesn't work in a family, obviously. Families aren't communists. Like, I heard some people argue that before, like families are socialists because, yeah, all the power is shared among the family, and all the resources are shared among the family, of course. And that should translate into the community as, you know, we all share our resources and powers with each other. There's a lot to touch on, I see. My nose acting up. So with power as well is the danger in it, like I said, sideways, is deception. You can deceive. If you're really hungry for power, you'll deceive. You'll deceive your own people, your own family. You'll deceive yourself for power, because you would be, because you have to go so against your own spirit to abuse your power, or be so prideful and narcissistic, you know, to caught up in sin, the 7 deadly sins of this, you know, that I'm referring to when I say sins. But you are too caught up in these sins to understand what your power is for, what it really is. So, like with our government, or most governments that are under Western structure right now, especially, is that the purpose of becoming a politician isn't for being a good person for your community, or, you know, having good ideas and wanting to solve problems. You know, that's looked down upon, because that's not a profitable model. It's not a model for raising your power, you know. But it, even just to the people who are greedy for power, of course, because obviously the public would appreciate a share in the power that they, in the land that they're on, you know, a share in the resources that they work to provide for the rest of the world, or for their own communities. And like, it's better if power is shared, because there's not one person can have all the power, right? And then you know, it has to be, you know, divided up evenly, I guess. I think people get too caught up in the whole isms of these things, because people are in these ideologies that were founded upon seeking power for the person who wrote the ideology itself, because the person who made up the ideology created it for themselves, in truth. And they want to get as many people as possible to try to, you know, worship their name, shout their name loud to be in the heavens, right? And there's nothing wrong with that if you're actually genuine about what you're trying to do. But the problem is that power can corrupt. Once it's gone up to your head, you gotta let it out of your head. Like, don't let it go to your head, right? because all you gotta do is keep letting it flow out of you. When you get more, when you gain power, you flow it back out. You know, like, I mean, yeah, like a waterfall is powerful, but you know, it flows into something else. It flows into a river, and continues on, and that's what we should be doing with our power when it rises up in us. It rises up out of our root chakra up into our crown, and then it doesn't stay there. It goes into our aura, and then it goes into the things that we create. That's how power, willpower, self-power really works. But the issue is people don't know their own power. They don't know how to utilize their own power. They don't understand what it is because they think of power externally as money or status, possessions, materialist power. Even if it's not really power anyway, it's just materialism, another ism. But people will, deceive for power. It's like referencing again like a family situation. Where abuses are happening, the person knows people know what they're doing when they do it. There's no fucking such thing as, I was whatever. People lie. People want to gain a certain perception about themselves. Narcissistic, psychotic people want to do this. They want to have a certain image portrayed, and they want that image portrayed so badly. They are self-deceiving themselves to deceive others about this image they want to portray. Like me, this is me. Like, you met me on the street, I go talk about this stuff for real. If you really want to sit down and listen. And, and of course, and it's not as if, people get too cocky on YouTube of like, oh, you're not showing your real self, whatever, like that. It's like, yeah, if I'm not gonna act on an asshole on camera to the audience, whatever. Like, I don't think that would have given me views for one. Well, it might, but it's not what my purpose is. I don't really like. It's not gonna like being an asshole or something like that. I think whatever. I get into personal things, but but people but it's not as if I don't have other emotions, right? Besides what is shown on camera. We all have ups and downs, and everybody gets angry, and people get it snapped at, whatever. And we all have our whatever we do in the dark. There's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong is being deceptive about what you're doing. Deception is the problem. Do not deceive yourself. Know thyself. Know who you are, and you gotta live with who you are. If you don't like who you are, you gotta change that. Don't keep bullshitting yourself. Don't deceive yourself into thinking that, if I just put it in my own mind that I'm this type of person, people will believe that I'm this type of person as long as I try to be this type of person. That's why this whole nice guy illusion is a whole red flag. Like, someone has to tell you that they're a nice guy. They have to believe that they're a nice guy. Like, no, you're not. And that's fine. If you're an aggressive, whatever, that's fine. If you're, a more timid type, that's fine. Just be genuine. Don't force yourself to be nice to these nice people, but they're not trying to be nice to you either. And it's not, and plus, people think they have to do those kinds of things because they think that people are inherently bad or whatever. When in general, most people are kind. People are going to be kind to each other. No one's going to go out just on purpose to be an asshole. It's just not. It's not a social thing. That's not how you play the social game. Is to go out and be an asshole. But there's no need to pretend to be nicer than what you really are. There's no need to try and put on this glamour of yourself and try to deceive others of who you are, so you can have a little taste of power when people smile at you and say, oh, what a nice guy you are, what a nice woman you are, and you get your narcissistic boost of power there from compliments. That's why I have a TikTok saying I should be complimenting everybody, and that's why these men out here acting like bitches, wanting to be complimented all the time because they have ingested this narcissistic psychopath personage that's been portrayed by the media, and they want to join. They want to have some of that power as well, you know. Okay, I'll say this too. So, like, women have been in a weird place of power for a long time, obviously, because women are obviously the creators of life and the most important creature you need to continue on human civilization. No matter how fucking whatever you are, you need women to continue your civilization. You need healthy, happy women to continue civilization. So most of Western society is built around making white women happy, obviously, because white women are, you know, the cradles of their nation. When I went to the Stone Mountain Park the other day, there's a woman in a child statue, and it says, "Your country comes before even yourself, or even your child, whatever." And that tells me that it's that same genetic fear of genetic annihilation in there, because it's what's more important is that our people, our nation, our race continues. Because if you're not careful, you'll be obliterated in, like, you know, a very short time. And it's funny, even like them trying to, like, you know, like when you force so hard at something, you're actually like sort of, it's like you're pulling the bowstring back to just hit you harder, you know? If you think you just push it all the way away, it won't get you, and it just hits it back even harder. So, but yeah, but that's the female power, the white female power in the world is what has caused like this sort of feminization of men, because men know they can't find power in not on the battlefield, because, you know, you're just fighting for nothing really. And also the people who get all the glory and attention on TV are the ones that sent you out there, and they stayed in the White House. You know, they stayed at the Pentagon while you guys went out. And now you don't, I mean, you get your rank or whatever, you get your little medals, but they're not putting you on, like, you know, on like the walls of whatever, you know. You have to do something extra heroic, I guess, whatever. But the fact is, that's so that avenue of trying to get your the status, to try to get that status for your name through military isn't the same as it used to. There's economic restrictions and legacy or nepotism out there that keeps men from getting to certain positions of power that would satisfy their calling. And it's probably, you know, it's well deserved, you know, but, you know, in this structure, what reigns is money and status and nepotism. So now it's led to a feminization of men, where, well, now they can get, or it's the whole internet culture in general, but now they can get attention and power through, you know, making art, making YouTube videos, you know, by you know, trying to write something, you know, whatever it can do through their looks, you know. That's why gym movement's gotten big. This whole pickup artist thing has gotten big, you know. Now it's like, oh, my power is in seducing women, you know, or my power is in, you know, being witty on the internet. My power is I go to the gym and I look good, you know, and my power is I can, you know, draw upon your empathy. So that's that's the those are some avenues of feminine power that men have resorted to. And not only that, but also, like, uh, like just getting dressed up, whatever. Some folks are out here. I mean, it's we know that some folks are out here just doing it for the clout. So that's why it seems higher. That's why it something seems imbalanced about the number of certain types of creators out here, because we have the knowledge that some people are doing it for clout, and some people are genuine about what they're doing, and you can tell who's being genuine and who's not. It's just up to your own discernment. But that's what people are out here doing for just a little taste of power, the power that's been taken away from us by our government, because power is also the freedom to choose some certain things. So our power has been stripped away from us for thousands of years already, and now in this capitalist society, the power is taken is through our labor. And even though we don't feel our personal power is through labor, because my personal power is definitely through art, or this kind of art, the spiritual work, spiritual creation, that is my inner power. But to have financial power is to labor for another company, for them to give you some kind of status or rank or whatever. I mean, times are changing now, obviously. I'm just going over things. But it is great that nowadays, with the power of the internet, we can, or using the internet as a tool, can help us find our resources and our avenues to our own self empowerment. But it also does lead to all these little mini are these narcissists popping up, or the other people who are trapped up in their sins, to try to get a taste of that power that they see glamorized. And also, and that's also more self-deception as well, or deceiving others to get power in that regard. Like, and maybe as someone really doesn't like doing these kinds of things, but they do it anyway just because, it makes them money, it makes me popular, or it gives me status of some kind. So, and people will, in deceiving each other, they're also, they'll do all kinds of things. People do all kinds of things to other people for power. If you've seen the show Power, and especially fucking Dre. Nigga. But anyway, power. But power. The show Power is great in explaining this whole phenomenon of abuse of power and deception, and all the other sins that go along with it. So let me do because it's not that power is the problem; it's abuse of power. And I can't help but think when I look around at the power structures, I can see how this could actually be way more helpful if the right people were in charge of these things. If they were given dominion over these things. It should make sense that, someone who's passionate about farming, or agriculture, or people's health care, or people's, ability to eat, should be head of, the Department of Agriculture or something like that, right? Not someone who went to college, got a degree, and knows the right people. It should be someone real, with some real life experience, with real connections, with real knowledge, and who should be in that kind of department. It should be someone who has children, or has taken care of children for a long time, and studied child psychology and studied how people learn should be in the Department of Education. And there's probably are people like these, within the organization departments itself. But the people who run those organizations, the people who run the budget, the people who run the however it runs, they are usually not. I mean, I think it seems clear to me that they're not in those positions because they care about people. It's because they care about the right people and they want to have power, and they'll do what they have to do to get that power, while claiming that they care about the immigrants or whatever, and meanwhile they do nothing for the citizens that are already here, and they claim like, oh yeah, it's available, but then they have all these wall hurdles to jump through. It's come on now, keep it. If they really care, they would keep it simple. The point of the complication of the process is to add more hurdles to it as you go, because humans are simple creatures, pretty much, and we're all pretty simple creatures, and we all want the simplest way because the simplest way is the best way. Like the Creator didn't make it. Like, we're complex beings, but we're not complicated beings. Like, yeah, we're a rich and unique muscular, vascular, skeletal system that works in sync to, whatever, and all these things, but it's a complex structure with, and it's simple to use. Any idiot has a human body, the most advanced technology on this planet, right? So like, complexity is an issue. It's the complications of it. It's
Dad.
the camera.
Oh, it's a video.